This is Fleet Admiral Lin Chen. I am known as the architect of the Sanctuary Deception, the greatest military feint in galactic history. I sacrificed an entire world to win a war. It was empty. But they didn't know that. This is Case File 729. This is how we destroyed an empire by letting them destroy nothing. The Hegemony War began in 2903, when the Drethnar decided humanity had grown too powerful. We controlled 47 colony worlds, 300 billion people, a growing fleet that concerned our neighbors. The Drethnar hegemony controlled over 2,000 worlds. They had 400 years of military tradition. They had never lost a war. They decided we needed to be eliminated before we became a real threat. The first 3 years were a catastrophe. We lost world after world, colony after colony. Our fleets were destroyed in battle after battle. The Drethnar were better equipped, better trained, better led. By year 3, we had lost 40 of our 47 colonies, 270 billion humans dead. Our military reduced from 12,000 ships to less than 1,000. By year 4, we had 1 colony remaining, Sanctuary. 30 million survivors. The last remnant of humanity. 800 ships to protect them. The Drethnar massed for the final blow. They gathered every ship in their empire. 50,000 warships. The largest fleet ever assembled. Enough firepower to crack planets. They were coming to finish us. Conventional military thinking said we were dead. 800 ships against 50,000. There was no tactic, no strategy, no miracle that could overcome those odds. So I stopped thinking conventionally. I asked a simple question. What if we weren't there when they arrived? The plan was insane. It required perfect secrecy across 30 million people. It required 2 years of hidden preparation. It required sacrificing our last world. But it could work. And nothing else could. Phase 1 began 18 months before the expected attack. We started building a second fleet. Not on Sanctuary. That would be detected. We built it in the deep void, in a region of empty space 7 light-years from anywhere. No stars, no planets, nothing but darkness. We called it the Ghost Yard. Every resource we could spare went there. Every factory that could be hidden. Every engineer. Every worker. Every shipwright we could move without arousing suspicion. Officially, Sanctuary's economy was collapsing. Production was falling. Morale was breaking. We were a dying civilization going through the motions. Unofficially, we were building 12,000 warships in absolute secrecy. The Drethnar had spies on Sanctuary. They saw what we wanted them to see. A broken people. A failing economy. A fleet that couldn't possibly resist their coming attack. They did not see the Ghost Yard. No one did. Phase 2 began 6 months before the attack. The evacuation. 30 million people had to disappear without anyone noticing. We did it gradually. Night evacuations, small groups, families leaving for refugee processing and never coming back. Workers transferring to emergency projects in deep space. Every transport left dark, minimal power signatures, maximum stealth. They traveled to New Haven, a world we had colonized in secret 2 years earlier. A world no one knew existed. We replaced the evacuees with holograms, not crude projections, sophisticated simulations powered by our most advanced AI systems. Holograms that moved through cities, conducted business, maintained the appearance of a functioning colony. From orbit, Sanctuary looked normal. Population signatures read correctly. Communication traffic matched expected patterns. Everything a Drethnar spy satellite would look for showed a world of 30 million humans. In reality, only 1,200 remained. Military personnel operating the deception. Volunteers who knew they might not survive. By the time the Drethnar fleet launched, Sanctuary was a shell. Empty cities, automated systems, an entire world turned into a stage set. Phase 3 was the trap. Our visible fleet, 800 ships, remained at Sanctuary. They would defend the colony. They would fight bravely. They would die heroically. Or so the Drethnar would believe. In reality, those 800 ships were also mostly empty. Skeleton crews, automated weapons, ships designed to look functional while requiring minimal personnel. The real crews were with me, aboard the Ghost Fleet, waiting in the darkness 7 light-years away. 12,000 warships, hidden for 2 years, ready to strike. But not at Sanctuary. The Drethnar had committed their entire military to destroying our last colony. 50,000 ships, every vessel in their empire. They had left nothing behind. Their homeworld was undefended. Their industrial centers were unprotected. Their entire empire was vulnerable. And they didn't know we had a fleet capable of exploiting that vulnerability. D-Day was March 7th, 2907. The Drethnar fleet arrived at Sanctuary in perfect formation. 50,000 ships spreading into attack position around our last colony. Their commander, High Admiral Kethvarol, broadcast a message across all frequencies. Humans of Sanctuary, your species' pathetic resistance ends today. Surrender, and we may grant some of you quick deaths. Resist, and we will make your extinction last generations. Our defensive fleet responded exactly as expected. 800 ships forming a desperate defensive formation, refusing to surrender, preparing to fight to the last. Kethvarol smiled. He had studied humans. He knew we would refuse to surrender. He was counting on it. All ships, begin the attack. Leave nothing alive. 50,000 ships opened fire on Sanctuary. The orbital stations exploded beautifully. We had rigged them with extra fuel to create impressive fireballs. Our defensive fleet fought back valiantly, destroying perhaps 300 enemy ships before being overwhelmed. The planetary bombardment began. Cities burned. Industrial centers shattered. Population centers were systematically destroyed. The Drethnar recorded everything. They wanted documentation of humanity's extinction, proof that the threat was eliminated. They documented the destruction of empty buildings, the deaths of holographic civilians, the elimination of a population that had left 3 months ago. For 6 hours, 50,000 ships bombarded nothing of value. Kethvarol declared victory. Messages were sent to the hegemony homeworld. Celebrations began across the fleet. That was when we struck. The Ghost Fleet emerged from hyperspace at 1417 hours, directly above Drethvoril Prime, the hegemony homeworld. 12,000 human warships, appearing from nowhere, above a world defended by exactly 0 military vessels. Because every military vessel was at Sanctuary, celebrating the destruction of empty cities. The Drethnar home defense was laughable. Orbital stations designed to handle pirates. Planetary shields meant for meteors. A civilian population of 40 billion who had never imagined their world could be attacked. We destroyed the orbital defenses in 9 minutes. Then we began the bombardment. I gave them one chance, one opportunity to surrender, one moment to realize what had happened. They did not surrender. Their pride would not allow it. They were the Drethnar hegemony. They did not yield to primitives. So we burned their world. 40 billion Drethnar, their capital city, their government, their history, their culture, gone in 4 hours. While Kethovoril was still celebrating at Sanctuary, his homeworld became ash. The hegemony did not fall immediately. They had 2,000 other worlds, but we did not stop at their homeworld. While their entire fleet raced back from Sanctuary, a journey that would take weeks, we attacked everything we could reach. Shipyards, industrial centers, military academies, communication hubs. We moved constantly, striking targets, then jumping before the enemy fleet could intercept. 12,000 ships against 0 defenders. Every world they had left unprotected became a target. By the time Kethovoril reached Drethvoril Prime, there was nothing left to save. His fleet found a debris field where his homeworld had been. They found burning colonies throughout their territory. They found an empire in collapse. They also found us waiting for them. The Ghost Fleet had been reinforced. Captured hegemony ships, crewed by human survivors. Ships from human colonies we had secretly maintained. Our 800 destroyed ships, most of which had actually escaped during the battle, their deaths faked for Drethnar censors. 15,000 human ships against 50,000 Drethnar. The odds were still against us. But the Drethnar were broken. Their morale had shattered. Their homeworld was dead. Their empire was burning. Half their crews were in open mutiny, blaming their commanders for falling into an obvious trap. The Second Battle of the Sanctuary Approaches lasted 11 hours. We destroyed 31,000 enemy ships. The remainder surrendered or fled. The Hegemony War ended 3 months later with unconditional surrender. The Drethnar hegemony no longer exists as a political entity. Their 2,000 worlds are now divided between 18 successor states, none of them capable of threatening humanity again. Total Drethnar casualties: approximately 112 billion dead. Human casualties: approximately 290 billion dead over the course of the war. Sanctuary casualties: 1,200 volunteers, all of whom knew the risks. The mathematics are brutal. We lost more than they did, far more. But we won, and they lost everything. I am sometimes asked whether I feel guilt for the deception, for letting them attack an empty world, for burning their homeworld while they were elsewhere. I do not. They started this war. They killed 290 billion humans. They would have killed every human in existence if we had not stopped them. I used deception because deception was the only weapon that could defeat a superior force. I sacrificed a world because that world was already lost. We simply chose to make its loss mean something. I killed 112 billion Drethnar because they were trying to kill all of us. War is not fair. War is not honorable. War is survival. And survival goes to those who are willing to do what is necessary. The Drethnar believed they were fighting an honorable enemy. They believed we would stand and die like warriors. They believed we would never abandon our last world. They were wrong. We are humans. We do whatever it takes to survive. We use any weapon, any tactic, any deception that gives us an advantage. And when our enemy commits their entire force to destroying a decoy, we burn their empire while they waste their ammunition on ghosts. This is Fleet Admiral Lin Chen, signing off. Case File 729 is now closed. They brought 50,000 ships to destroy our last colony. Our last colony was empty. While they killed ghosts, we killed their empire. Let that be the lesson. Never assume humans are where you expect them to be. Never commit everything to a single attack. And never, ever celebrate victory before confirming the bodies are real. Because if you're killing holograms, we're probably killing your homeworld. That's how humans fight. That's why humans win. Even when we're losing, we're setting up the victory. Even when we're dying, we're planning